All right, C1x Report, day 5 of the World Championships. Final round. The drill, we're going to put in the round into C1X, take a look at the stats, give it a grade, and we're picking the World Championship winning round today. Gannon Buhr took it down. Nice finish at the end. Looked like it was going to be a close one, and everyone else just kind of fell away, and he kept birdieing. So I don't have Anthony Barella's round in the app currently. The last round we looked at actually just pushed out a new update to testers for C1X, and that made me erase the rounds that I had on here. We do still have the courses, but we can take a quick look at the graphic that we put together last time. 4AB's round, that 15 under at the Beast, which was pretty ridiculous. It feels slightly overshadowed, I think, by Ezra's 14 still at the Monster. They definitely don't hold the same weight, I think, for people, but 15 down is still, it's second best round of the weekend. Still absolutely ridiculous. Just took that par on 18, and yeah, almost 70% C2 putting. That got the job done, got him up within 2 strokes of the lead from, I don't know how many cards back. 4th or 5th card, maybe? He was a ways down there. But yeah, so we are going to cover Gannon's round today, and I need to pull up Gannon's score. Let's go over to the live scores here. Full MPO scores. We've got Gannon's 9 down. Even going 1 over on the last 2, he got the job done. Everyone on that lead card got some terrible rollaways on 17. That was pretty ridiculous. But yeah, so this is what we're covering. Let's slide this over a little bit. Get the app open. And I had to remove the rounds, but we still got all the courses in there. So we still got the Beast and the Monster. Beast, hole 1. Take a look at what Gannon had to do to hold on to the 2-stroke lead and take down Worlds. So driving hole 1, I know the commentators made a comment about it. He just, for some reason, that hole had his number. Not uncommon, I think, for holes to have people's number at the Beast, but it's surprising when it's hole 1 and it's Gannon Buhr. Obviously, he didn't need hole 1. Rest of the tournament still went well enough, but threw that tee shot just into the fairway and then pitched up under the par for a tap in, under the basket for a tap in par. Hole 2, he parked, threw a nice forehand to 6 feet to get under par for the round. Hole 3, long par 5, laid up in the fairway. Second shot in the fairway as well. And then his approach shot to 16 feet for another pretty easy par. Hole 4, tee shot in the fairway, got his upshot into circle 2, but was not able to cash it in. I want to say he had a rollaway on that circle 2 putt. Or no, he didn't. No, I'm looking at the wrong number. That one he put under the basket for par. Okay. Tap in for par on hole 4. So sitting at 2 under, 5 down, threw the drive to 26 feet, made the putt for birdie. Jomez was talking about it, but those 26 footers, 16 footers, you got to make those coming down the stretch. Hole 6, into circle 2, missed that putt and made the 16-foot comeback for par. Hole 17, drive landed in the fairway to 16 feet for the birdie. Hole 8, tee shot to 16 feet for the birdie. Hole 9, drive just landed in the fairway and then pitched up under the basket for another tap in par. I like to say under the par. I think he was catching some of those late trees with that forehand swing on hole 9. Gave it a soft run, but kept it close at least. All right, 5 down on the front 9, hole 10. Drive landed in the fairway and then upshot under the basket for a tap-in birdie. Hole 11, 430, also a tap-in birdie. Pretty impressive, I think, to be inside of the bullseye on hole 11. A lot of luck on that hole anyways, people fighting through those trees at the very end of the hole. You can peer it, there's that gap in the trees, but pretty tough to hit. Can't see the gap from the tee pad. So hole 12, Drive landed in the fairway, upshot to 16 feet, in the basket for another birdie. Hole 13, drive landed in the fairway. This was, I believe hole 13 was one where he landed in the fairway, but he hit really early and then just had an incredible upshot up that hill just to get to 39 feet and make that crazy putt with a little bit of drop off behind the basket. I think that putt was probably the moment where everyone was thinking that this was maybe over. There was always hole 16. Definitely felt over once he birdied hole 16, but that putt on 13 just kind of lets you know that the nerves are not quite hitting them as hard as they were hitting everyone else. So, hole 14, a little bit of a shank on that one. I think tee shot just in the rough, no penalty stroke. But tee shot in the rough, upshot to 16 feet, and then in the basket for par. 15, I think he barely stayed in, going high over the trees. Do that drive into circle 2, and then I want to say gave it a pretty decent bid, even though he didn't necessarily need to. But thankfully it stayed close in the basket for another par. Hole 16, in the fairway, made the island on a second, right to 16 feet, in the basket for birdie. Hole 17 took that penalty off of the tee. He was putting from circle 2, I believe. Pretty shallow C2, but missed that circle 2 putt and then kind of got fortunate to stay close. 17 has that real steep slope at the basket. That's how he got his penalty stroke off the tee, as he landed to a pretty good drive. Pretty safe drive too, higher up the hill, but it rolled all the way down OB. And if you hit front cage with that comeback putt, it's pretty easy to just watch it happen again. Just continue to roll down that hill OB. So pretty good sit, stayed inside the bullseye. And then hole 18, he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He pitched up in the fairway again, through his upshot. This says 16 feet. I'm just going to change that. He was inside a bullseye on that upshot. He was maybe 10 feet max away from the basket. So I think that stat's wrong. I watched that putt and in the basket for the par. So that's Gannon's 9 under, 1061 rated. I do think early on in the round, and I know they're filming this after the fact, so he may have already known, but I think Nate Sexton made the comment that he's seen all of these, those 5 or 6 guys that were in contention play enough, and one of them is going to shoot 1060. So that's the mark you have to beat, and the leader went and shot 1060. So really a pretty incredible round. 17 and 18 you can kind of toss out the window maybe just a little bit, just because I think you start to play some of these holes a little bit differently as you have that big of a lead going into the final few holes of the World Championships. 17 was a good drive, just an unfortunate roll away, but he did what he needed to do. He made all of his circle 1 putts. He was inside of circle putting for birdie 50% of the time, and 9 down is clearly 1060 rated. So if you can do this and this, do your circle 1 in regulation 50%, make all your circle 1x putts, you're going to be sitting pretty good. Scroll down a little bit more here. 20% inside circle 2, just making that one big one when he counted, which is great. Not so much for padding the stats, but really just for momentum coming down the stretch. Park 17% of the time for birdie. 56% birdie rate. Had a scramble in there, just the 1 penalty stroke, but C2 bonus in the positive. If you make 1 C2 putt, you don't miss any. And 16 holes bogey free. I think that was a pretty big stat coming down the stretch, because everyone else that he was playing with was birdieing at some point. Not so much the chase card guys. They were a little bit further behind. But, Ezra playing okay, but took a big number there. AB took a bogey early on. Who else did he have? And Sullivan. Yeah, and then Sullivan had the little rough stretch there around the turn of the round. But 16 holes bogey free, saving him for those last two when he could afford it. That's how you win the World Championships. You do that for 5 rounds. Pretty impressive. I know everyone was kind of bummed to not see Niklas win. I agree. That would have been really cool. I do find that there's something a little bit comforting almost about just the world number 1 winning the World Championships. I found it kind of odd in the past, and they earned it, rightfully so. But when you have people who may not win again all year, may not win again ever, that take down a World Championship just because they put together one really good tournament, and that's how it works, and they deserve the win. But it feels almost natural or right for the world number 1 to put up a performance like that and take down the title. So kind of like a Macbeth or a Wysocki taking down worlds. But that is going to wrap it up for our C1x report here for the World Championships. Not really anything overly exciting about Gannon's stat line from this round. It was just solid. It was what he needed to do, already having the lead. And he did it. He made those circle 1 putts. He minimized mistakes. That's exactly what he needed to do to hold off these guys absolutely charging. So we'll go ahead and build our graphics here and wrap it up. Grabbed our screenshot. Let's go over to make this a little bit wider. We'll go grab our new graphic here. Drop it into the app. Throw Gannon's name up here. There we go. Gannon Buhr with the 9 under 54. 54, neg 9, round 5. Rating was 1061. 1061. Enough to get it done. All right, stats to display here. We're going to go C1x putting. The ever important stat for taking down titles. 100%. What other stats do we want to show? Could do a C2 in regulation. Maybe a streak in there too. C2 in regulation I'll stick with. That was 72%. And bogey free. 16 holes bogey. Not quite gonna fit. We'll go bogey free streak 16. Yeah, consistency. Getting the job done. I think that's it for this graphic. That'll be our final post for the World Championships, and then we'll do our pro breakdown here. Round 5. Gannon Buhr. Definitely going to give him the buy rating. World number 1 just took down the world title. It's going to be hard to not give Gannon Buhr a buy rating. Is he? We've got probably another week before the next ratings update. He's got to be. I mean, that's just. He played 5 rounds at hard courses, and his worst round rating was 1052. It's pretty good. Let's see what the I hit the button. I hit the button because I had to push out that new update. So let's go throw that button back in there so we can get our round grade here. Now I just got to find it. Let's see, there's our back button right here. All right, we got the button back. Let's drag this up a little bit so we can see the rating come through down there. All right, 9.45 MPO plus. Not surprising. I think 9.45 driving stats probably could have been a little bit better, but that's all he needed. Took the penalty stroke. That always penalizes slightly on the C1X driving grade. Course difficulty is certainly taken into account here, which is why this score is so high. If you were to shoot a 9 down with this scorecard at, local Salt Lake course, it would be deserving of a score much lower than that, and that's what it would get. But doing that at the Beast, definitely a really solid round. So that's going to be our YouTube thumbnail for the video. This will go up on the C1X Instagram, and otherwise, that's going to wrap it up for the C1X report for Worlds. Planning to continue this for future tournaments as well. These are pretty fun for me to do. Always nice looking at the stats of some of those pro rounds, especially when I get to maybe pick cash line rounds, and there's a little bit more color, a little bit more to look at other than they played really well. But congrats to Gannon for taking down Worlds. Pretty cool. That'll wrap it up for this video, and we'll see you at the next tournament.